I'm going to read this from the Starseed transmissions, and this is for those of us who know that we can live in the now, that around us it seems like we're in a linear time, but that the true reality of ours, if we can but realize it, and I'm talking to myself too, I haven't fully realized this, but as I read this, know that this is possible. These words are the words that Carey received in his book, The Starseed Transmission. And these are words, I think, from Jesus to him. So I'm going to read them now, and I hope it will make you feel comfort. It has for me. A psychological process. Everything that you need exists in this present moment, and this moment is all that exists. In its brief flicker, you will find all the time in the world. Through it, you will contact the living information that will guide you with infallible direction. This present moment is the stargate through which you will leave the prison of human definition and expand into an awareness of divine perception. It is the crack between the worlds, not only the worlds of past and future, but worlds of time and space, spirit and matter, form and being. It is a timeless zone, the gateway through which you will again begin to participate in the adventure of creation. Your entry into the eternal awesomeness of the present moment, into the presence of God, will be through what we call a psychological process. This process is a process of identity shift, a process through which balance is restored in your awareness of the two realities. Through it, you begin to realize that you are not the form you animate, but the force of animation itself. Through it, you will reawaken to an awareness of all that you are in spirit and in wholeness. It is a process that will return you to a state of grace, a state of health, a state of intimate association with all that is. This state already exists. It always has. Yet most human beings are blinded to it by the incessant machinations of the rational thought processes that they worship instead of God and His simple truth. It is important that you recognize the creative power of your thoughts, a power far beyond your knowledge. As long as you think negatively, life will only allow you a token share of consciousness, lest you spread diseases. But the moment your thoughts are of love and life, the Lord will flood you with His own awareness, and you will enjoy the wonder of His perception. You were born to share in His creative power. The stuff of which you are made is so charged with the ability to create that everything you touch comes to life, every thought, every identity, every image. You are the energizing force of the material plane, the bringer of life, the bestower of blessing, and the sustainer of illusion. Through you, God is able to enter the very heart of creations. Through you, God is revealed in material form. You are both child of God and child of matter. Yet you cannot serve both masters. Whatsoever you bind in consciousness will be bound in matter, and whatsoever you bind in matter will be bound in consciousness. You are the creator at this time of your own reality. If you would know the creator of a great reality, lay down your thoughts as you would a hoe after a day in the garden. The greater reality calls to you now. You are required in its service. Your embryonic period is over. Gestation is complete. The moment of birth at hand. To re-enter the presence of God, you must first leave the presence of Satan. You have lived in the presence of Satan for all the years of your history. In fear, you have been led far from your home, in a state of grace, and deeply into worlds of elemental forces and bonded energy patterns. Now is the time to leave this prison. You need not leave your physical bodies, nor the objects of the physical plane, but you must leave your interpretation of what those objects and bodies are. Your interpretations and definitions only reflect the distortion of your subjective perspective. Interpretations are what stand between you and the clarity of perception that you will need to do the work that lies ahead. Excuse me. You must release them with your thoughts, with your dreams, with your hopes, and with your fears. They may seem to be insignificant ethereal things floating gently through your mind, but do not be misled by their apparent lack of substance. They are the stuff that wars are made of, the harbingers of death, the agents of disease and destruction. With the energy that you give them through your attention, they have the strength to cripple a planet. Remember the tree in the center of the garden? Why do you suppose the Lord forbade the first humans to eat of the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil? Only one with a consciousness of the whole of creation is in a position to determine the good and the evil as it pertains to the various creatures. In the other reality, the first humans shared in the holistic perspective of the Creator. But in the form reality, their perspective was decidedly subjective, incapable of accurately assessing the needs of the whole. They could not creatively direct the course of those who had projected forms functioning within creation. Only the totality of consciousness, God the Father, the Creator, was in that position. So long as they had trust in Him and were willing to function within the range of their design, within the context of the Creator's own internal dynamics, they had complete freedom to enjoy the created realms. Choosing to partake in the forbidden fruit, these first representatives of deity stepped outside the range of their designated function, consequently outside the range of the creative energy that was available to them according to the nature of their design. This was the beginning of disease, aging, and death, the beginning of their pattern of false identity, and the beginning of human history. The pattern of false identity has lasted to this day, and while it has not critically affected the gestation period, it has certainly made it less enjoyable. Can you see more clearly now why it is essential in these closing years of the cycle to release your interpretations? They belong to the past, and life exists eternally in the present. You were intended to share in this eternal life, but to do so you must release identification with the past, release identification with the material garments you wear, and accept the creative definition that life gives to you in this present moment. What do you call Satan? His body is the past, his breath the future. Energized by your past-oriented guilt and your future-oriented fear, he follows you around like some vast cosmic shadow. He casts his nets of fear on the waters of your awareness, then draws them with ropes of reason back into a guilt-ridden past. For the sake of illustration, your presence could be compared to an inflatable membrane designed to be filled to the full with the energy and power of life. Like two enormous rips in the side, guilt and fear allow the precious life substance to escape, leaving you withered, ineffectual, and short-lived, all the while using your own life substance to energize everything that you fear. It is easy to reverse the situation. Let yourself die to the past and wake up in the present moment. Why should you hesitate? Are your past experiences really comprehensive enough to provide a basis for understanding everything you encounter in the present? Do they truly deserve the authority and credibility that you give them? How attentive were you to all the factors that were present in the moment of their occurrence? If you are preoccupied with experience, how attentive will you be to what is occurring in the moment? Where is your attention now? You are where your attention takes you. In fact, you are your attention. If your attention is fragmented, you are fragmented. When your attention is in the past, you are in the past. When your attention is in the present moment, you are in the presence of God, and God is present in you. Let yourself die to all that does not really exist and discover what does. Let go of all you think you know. Be honest, all you know is of the past. It does not exist in the eyes of God. In the eyes of God, your knowledge is but dust in the eye of a child, blinding you to the splendor of creation. You know, in effect, nothing of eternal significance. When you operate on the basis of your so-called knowledge, you are operating without divine foundation. Belief in your own knowledge is not belief in God. Trust in your own knowledge is not trust in God. No matter how much you learn within your present framework of finite knowledge, it will never be even one step closer to an understanding of God, the universe, or yourself. Knowledge as you presently understand it will never bring you closer to life. Do not cling in imagined righteousness to this or that segment of your experience, as if this or that piece of the past were somehow worth the saving. Well, you say, I will die to everything but this. This is too sacred. This means too much to me. Let it go. Does it mean more than life? You don't need it anymore, whatever it might be. Perhaps you are concerned that some aspect of your identity will not survive the psychological process. You may be right, but you may just as well be wrong. Let it go. It makes absolutely no difference. There are no guarantees that this or that is going to survive the sight of God. But the only things that are threatened, the only things that will not survive, are things that do not exist apart from your conception, things that have no reality apart from the reality that you gave them. All that is essential to you is being sustained by the creative power of the living God. All that you sustain in existence through the misuse of your creative abilities only serves to involve you in areas where your own life energies become mischanneled and eventually dissipated. Any belief, any concept, any conviction that you might have that truly mirrors what is present in the mind of God will still be there on the other side of the psychological process. So you have nothing to fear in releasing these things. All that has been sanctified by God will continue to exist. Only that which has sought to cheat you out of your destiny will perish. It is really very simple. Let it all go. See what the Lord has in store. Any hesitation that you feel is only indicative of a continued trust in fear and reason. These are the false gods of this age. They will continue to enslave you until your trust is restored in love and life. Trust God implicitly, and the truth of His divine design will be revealed in every situation. This design is your own operating manual. Ignore it in favor of your own interpretations, and you are ignoring the blueprint of your identity. Specific information for each and every situation is being supplied to you constantly by the source of infinite knowledge. Why not trust it? Your first impulse will always be, as it has always been, the programmatic instruction from your subliminal analysis system, the advice of your Creator. It will be a direct message from your true self, the impulse of life, the gateway to all that you call heaven. It is the spontaneous spark of divinity as it differentiates through you into your environment's situation. It can assess and evaluate the factors present in any situation at a rate of speed far exceeding a rational thought process. You have all the pertinent information in the universe available simply for the asking. When you are aware of your totality, the life impulse will transmit to you everything that you need to know in any given situation. Its message will always come as your first spontaneous impulse. Chapter 7. As a child, your conceptual prison was not yet fully defined. You still retained the ability to enter the lands of eternal being. As an awakened child of God, you will again be able to speed up or slow down the passage of time, to stop raindrops on the window or war in the Mideast. With an awareness of the eternity at each moment, with your involuntary data analysis systems providing you with infallible reports many thousands of times per second, you will have plenty of time to correctly assess all the factors present in the moment of whatever circumstance presents itself to you. You will determine the optimum course of action with the ease and grace of a dancer. You will always choose the path of optimum response, not because you lack free will, but because such a path represents for you both the path of least resistance and the path of greatest fulfillment. You will no longer use your free will to make unnecessary mistakes, but to find out what part you might most creatively play in the whole. In choosing to do God's will, you will discover the only true freedom. Your ability to function will reach the perfection of its potential, and you will have little difficulty correcting the disharmony of your historical situation. Living in this state of grace, you will function much like a computer, monitoring the variables of any given situation, determining the optimum behavioral pattern, scanning, adjusting for new data over and over many times each second. All data pertinent to a given situation will automatically be processed on an unconscious level. Consciously, you will always be aware of a course of action that makes optimum use of the potential available to all factors in that situation. Your inner control mechanism, returned at last to the directive impulse of life, will take care of this unconsciously. It will be as simple and as natural as breathing. Trusting in the design that God has already incorporated into your physical body is the key to the new type of function. Can you imagine how awkward it would be if you were required to assume conscious responsibility for all the autonomic systems in your body? In a sense, this is what you are doing when you override your autonomic informational processing systems in deference to a rational thought process. Historically, your mind has been preoccupied with an overload of sensory input that was never designed to be processed consciously. Your conscious function is in another realm, a realm of spontaneous creation, dance, music, and delight. For this is what you begin to do as your trust is restored once again in the life impulse. You begin to dance to the music of your soul. There are 7 primary vibrational channels maintained within the overall vibrational body of planetary being. Within each of these 7 primary channels are 7 sub-channels. The conscious execution of your creative responsibilities in the overall design will occur on one or another of these primary channels. The discovery of which level within the planetary being you have been designed to function on will not come through conceptualization. It will come through inner sensitivity to feelings, vibrations, and planetary rhythms. Once you attune yourself to these rhythms, you will find that the functional duties you are called upon to perform are the very things that you most want to do. No longer bound by false responsibilities born of fear and addiction to past patterns, you will take up the tools of your trade and delight in the creative implementation of God's will. As you work in this new way, each will hear the different notes of his or her own functional duty, and be dancing out the fulfillment of that particular obligation. On each of the primary channels, all melodies will have the same rhythm and bass notes, and each channel will be in harmonic relationship with all the others. All across the planet, joyful melodies will be sounding forth, all perfectly synchronized with each other, all playing together in an exquisitely balanced orchestration, a perfect symphony. This is the Creator's love song to the planet Earth. In this state of grace, no longer will you be compelled by the narrow dictates of your rational interpretation. No longer will you be held prisoner within the structure of your conceptions. You will be free to flow in joyful, rhythmic oscillations between your reality as the unmanifest totality of God and your reality as His specific functional projection in form. Tapping directly into the informational systems of eternal being, your species will usher the earth into an age of unimaginable blessings and prosperity. The blueprint of your true work here on earth already exists within you. You do not have to be given instructions by anything outside yourself. Not by this book, a book of old, not by any person, object, or event. These things may be helpful at times, but your primary task is to awaken the living Christ in your heart. This is your true identity. Express God in all that you are and throw away the crutches that have helped you stumble through history. You are the means by which God loves creation. You are the facilities for the emergence of the catalytic energies of the final stage of the creative process. You are high priests and priestesses, invested with the authority to perform the only real mass, the cosmic mass of the world, in which matter is lifted up lovingly into the presence of God and instilled with the power and the life of spirit. So be aware, child of light, of your own importance, not as an individual ego identity, but as a critical ingredient in the structure of all creation. The things you do today, the things you do tomorrow, the things you do next week have far greater significance than you suspect. Be conscious of what you do, for you are the seed, the origin of much that is to come. Through your actions today, vast worlds will be created and destroyed. Just as a telescope aimed at a distant star has only to move 1 tiny millimeter at the fulcrum in order to move many light years at the other end, so you too are at a place of beginning with many effects on future worlds yet unborn. Be aware of this. Be aware of yourself. Be aware of your responsibility. Existence in these worlds of form is a wonderful privilege, too joyous for words, but it is a responsibility as well. You must begin to accept this responsibility of your freedom. Your freedom will continue to be curtailed as it is at this time. Release the structure of past identity. Surrender to the guards at the gates of Eden all your definitions of now. Relinquish your silly hold on reality and come join us in the freedom of the stars. The doorway is open. Die to all you so foolishly think you know. Lay down your beliefs like the agents of separation that they are. Hope for nothing but what is, and see its fullness in every moment. A new time is before your species, a time of realization, fulfillment, and adventure. Accept this time, move into it, dance in the momentum of its inevitability. It is the breath of life and the song of God that you have been cut off from for so long. Life is now. Life exists only in the present moment of time, in the presence of God. Thoughts that you are oriented toward the past and future serve only to restrict and limit the amount of animating current that is available to vitalize your expression. You have no idea how much energy will flow through you when you have proven your trustworthiness and cleared these obstructions from your circulatory system. There's more to this, but I'm about to run out of time. Anyway, I love these words by Carey that Jesus, I think, was speaking here. And everything seems so real, but really this is an illusion and we're part of it. And we have to realize that. That's the only way we're going to wake up. And we can call what is not as though it were, just like God. But we have to think like God in loving ways and be really willing to relinquish old ideas. Anyway, this is the Dove Lady. I'm going to end this now before it cuts off on its own. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.